Blessings and welcome back, family. I had a different story time planned for today, but things just escalated and changed to the point where something miraculous for me personally happened. And it's something that I really need to share. So, a lot of you that I've talked to, like on a personal basis, or we speak maybe every day, or you're part of the girls group that I'm in, or maybe, I could have very well mentioned it in my testimony video, but, trauma really takes a toll on compartmentalization and processing things, like, in your memory, right? And there's much of my childhood that, I don't remember, but there are bits and pieces where, I can remember it because either it was, like, so joyful or maybe so traumatic that it wasn't something that I was able to completely block out, um, or something that was, like, enjoyable, so, of course, that memory is still there, like, as a happy time or whatever. Um, However, um, there was a small thread that I felt like in this box in my brain. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like once you pull that thread and you like remember one certain thing, all of the sudden, all of these like memories start flowing through and you have this breakthrough. And this is the first time in my entire life that I have had a breakthrough like this where I can remember a lot of bits and pieces of things that happened in my elementary days. And I'm actually very excited about this. And I know it's probably not my memories that came back probably aren't really like a good thing, but you guys don't understand like what it's like to go through life with these gaps and so much time missing and not understanding like what happened to you or the things that you went through and why you can't remember them. Um and I know like a lot of times our brains have this built-in mechanism to like protect yourself uh, from from the trauma or bad things that are going on. I really believe that I know a lot of people think that it's like a bad thing to kind of disassociate and put those things in a box that you can't access inside your mind. But I honestly believe that it's a gift from Father, and we can't access them because it's not time, and we're not ready to learn about that part because once that box has been opened and you learn about whatever traumatic thing that you went through, bad memory, whatever the case may be, then there's a whole other level of a healing process that has to happen and go through from that moment, and you have to process it. You have to It's like almost like the 12 steps of grief. I think it's like 12 steps. Anyway, sorry. I've had like 4 cups of coffee and I'm a little excited today. This is this is going to be good because I remember and it feels good to remember. To remembering. Anyway, I got off the phone with my mom a little bit ago. Just because I wanted to confirm some things with her before I was like, yo, this is it. And she remembers a lot of the things that I was telling her, but there's like one component that is missing. But she's also older, and my mom has like some memory issues and stuff. So, with that being said, her memory is not like completely horrible, but you know, um, let's say hypothetically, I'm back in elementary school. Maybe she will or will not remember inadvertently giving the school permission for certain types of testing or thing like that to go on. And so this is like what triggered this memory for me. And I'm going to preface this by saying that I had no idea that there was like a whole other group of people out there that had these same experiences as me until yesterday. And my mind went poof, and I was like, I'm not the only one. This has happened to other people. Um please tell me more. What is this all about? And The thread that I pulled unlocked so many memories, and then I went down this rabbit hole trying to find more information, and boy, let me tell you, craziness ensued, right, in my brain, and I'm just, like, putting all this stuff together. So, um, I know that there's been, like, a few people talking about, having hearing tests done in the community when they were younger, right? Did you guys ever have to go through the hearing test and, um, this hand, whichever ear it was coming in on, right? And, you had to try to, let them know where the sound was coming from. So something about me, and, like, I know you guys don't know my mom, but she could vouch for this. I've always had very, very sensitive hearing and very sensitive ears. And, I cannot stand really high pitched, high frequency noises. Even highs, like in certain music, it's almost debilitating for me, and it becomes, like, the only thing that I can hear, and then I start obsessing about it, and then, it just kind of it's like for what other people would consider, like, nails on chalkboard, it gives me that type of sensation, and it's the most awful sound that I have ever heard, and my ears just literally feel like it makes it feel like my brain is buzzing and it's, like, gonna explode. I can't hang with, super high pitched noises. So with that being said, I, asked my mom about these hearing tests, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, when I worked for the school, that was something that, we did, like, once a year." And I was like, "Well, how come I was getting it done sometimes weekly and sometimes, a couple times a month?" And she's like, "I was not aware of this." And, I was like, "Yeah, I remember having to go in to get these hearing tests done often, thinking that maybe that there was something wrong with my hearing. I wasn't really told why I was going in there, but I remember distinctively being told that I needed to try to predict which ear I would hear the sound coming through. And I remember this so clearly, and I got really good at prediction. And one thing that, a lot of people like me know about me, maybe they don't, I don't know. I'm really, really, really good at pattern recognition. I have, like, a mild form of dyslexia, and so I learn very different from other people. And I'm very big on, pattern recognition, memorizing things, and that's, like, always been my strong suit in things. I can see patterns in things and figure it out and figure out how it works because of said pattern or whatever the case may be. And so, as I was talking to my mom about all of this stuff, um, I told her about how I remember in, second grade, I would always get pulled out of the classroom to go into this um, other classroom with, like, a few other students, and, um, there were these, like, blue thin mats that it was almost like a PE mat that would be laid on the floor, and we would be either lined up or our heads would be, like, connecting together. So, like, there would be 4 of us, but, like, all 4 of our heads were, like, next to each other. So, um, we made basically, like, a big, rectangle or whatever with our bodies, like, laying there with our heads connected, and then we, got these headphones on our heads, and, we were listening to, like, tones and different types of, sounds and stuff, different ones, coming through each ear, and I remember distinctly it, like, making me feel, like, a certain type of way, and I would always, like, try to resist how it made me feel, but then I would, start getting, like, really relaxed, and, I almost felt like I had no choice but to kinda go with the flow of it. And, I remember when this happened, this was the time where, my night terrors and everything started. It was actually the night terrors and, like, reoccurring dreams that really started to ramp up, like, all around this time. It's, like, the same time that I moved into, um, that house where my brother passed away, and the last, like, encounter story that I shared about the cordless phone. Like, most of the stuff really happened when I went to this particular school and this location. And, um, sorry, I had to take, like, a small little break in between there, so I'm a trying to put things back in order in my mind on, the events of things. But, when I was talking to my mom today, and I really wanted confirmation about, the stuff that I went through when I was in school. And one of the other big things that I really remember is really feeling very nauseous. Like every single day, I would end up with like a really bad stomach ache, and I would end up in the nurse's office. I swear, it seems like I spent more time in the nurse's office with an upset stomach or like really nauseous compared to actually being in a class. That was like through like my the whole time I went to that school, which was from 2nd to 6th grade, so I was only there for what, like 4 or 5 years or whatever. Um, so that was one thing, and my mom definitely remembered that. She doesn't remember, like, giving permission for, like, any additional testing or anything, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen, and she's, like, maybe not remembering, or maybe they just did it without permission. Um But she does, however, remember, like, the odd type of homework that I would bring home. I would have a packet that I would get, like, almost, every, Monday, and it wasn't just, like, your normal, um, homework packet or whatever that you would get for the week. I had all the same type of stuff in there, and what mine primarily focused on was, like, crossword, word searches, and, like the ones where you decode a message. So, you would have some stuff that you would have to figure out, and then that letter, what the number was correlated to a letter, and then you would put the letter down in the message, and then it would eventually you would figure out all the letters that were needed into it, and it would decode this like whole entire message. But the one other thing that I remember, specifically from this time, and I kind of became like really obsessed with it was like the game concentration, where you would get a whole bunch of, like, you could do it with like a deck of regular playing cards or whatever, but you focus on them and then try to find the pairs and match them together and move them out of the way. And I do recall being very obsessed with that game, and I got really good at pattern recognition and everything because of it, and just like memorization, knowing where the one card was when I found the other, I wouldn't forget, and I got really good at it. And that was something I even started doing in my off time, which my mom always thought was like a little bit odd. Like, why all of a sudden am I like obsessed with this game called concentration? Um, a lot of times it wasn't done though with like a normal deck of cards. There were just like other cards with it. It would have like a man on it, or square, or triangle, or star, or like waves of water or whatever. And then you just had to find the matching pair. I remember specifically playing concentration with those type of cards in like these classroom settings and stuff. Um Man, and so again, like, the memories just kind of kept unfolding with all of that. And I remember going on a couple of different field trips that a lot of the other students didn't get to go on. It was just like a few of us from each classroom, and maybe not even all the classrooms, but some of them. And they were specific field trips that only we went on. Usually you got a bus full of children because you've got like a couple of classrooms are in there. But I distinctly remember um this one time we went up to or actually down to Kit Peak Observatory, and there wasn't like a whole bunch of us that went. There was only a few of us, and this is I got really sucked into, like, learning all of the constellations and the planets and stuff at that time. And I'm not talking about, I was not ever really, like, ingrained with, like, the solar system and stuff like that. I'm talking specifically the constellations themselves, and learning about all of that. And that's kind of like where it drew the line for me. I don't ever remember learning anything about any type of like globe model at all whatsoever when I was in school. I do actually recall in sixth grade, there was like a sixth grade camp thing that a whole bunch of us did go on. But then again, when we got there, we were again broken up into like different groups. And the group that I was with, we had to complete different types of tests than or research and stuff than the other children did. Um, I definitely remember being singled out and stuff like that. And also in 6th grade was the year that I became, like, really obsessed with, like, Greek mythology and Egypt, and we had to do this, like, really big project, I remember, um, and I chose to do mine on ancient Egypt, and I had, like, this big poster board. I went, like, really detailed with it. Um I, like, glued sand down and, like, did, like, a whole bunch, which is it was pretty elaborate for, like, a 6th grader, in my opinion. Um, but things, like, really changed and stuff at that point, and then, one other thing that, like, these children that were tested on in these kind of ways that we all seem to have in common is that one or both parents were in the military. They lived on base housing. They moved around a lot. And that is exactly like how my childhood went up into a certain point. And we moved around more times than I can count. Even when we came here to stay in Arizona, like after sixth grade, um, man, I have moved so much, it's, like, exhausted. It's so exhausting just even thinking about it. I absolutely hate change like that, and I hate moving. It's, like, as a child, like, it's already hard enough to make friends, but then you're, like, awkward and weird, and you're, like, always the new kid and being able to forced to move. You just kinda turn into yourself and kinda shut down, and I didn't make a lot of friends and stuff because of that, because, like, my mindset was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna get, like, ripped up and moved away anyway, so there's no point in making friends or whatever." I had, like, one friend that lived across the street from me, who was my best friend for a really long time, and she helped me through a lot of things and was there for me, like, when my brother passed away and stuff, but, man, so it turns out, like, there was an actual program for these children that were being tested on, and again, yesterday I found out that there were more students. Like, I thought that this was normal, like, this whole time, not realizing that there was, like, way more to the story, and now I'm finding out that there's other children that were part of this, like, gateway program, I guess is what it was called. Um, and there's, like, so much that I could say about that, but I like I said, I pulled one thread, and I had a whole barrage of memories just come flowing in, and then I again, I needed to go just do my little research. I had to figure out, like, what was going on. Is there other people that went through this and the hearing test and all of that? And then that's, like, when it all just came back, right? Such a crazy thing to think about. Um, most of my childhood, like, I don't remember. It's so funny because I was actually in a live stream probably about 2 or 3 months ago, and I posed this question to the chat. I was like, "How many of you actually feel like you spawned here as an adult because, like, you don't remember a whole bunch of your childhood? It seems, like, really vague and like things are behind a wall or whatever, and you just can't remember." Um There were a couple of other people that felt that way too. Like, I remember, like, kind of being a child, but not like my childhood. Oh, and the other thing, the pink drink that they made us drink. My mom actually remembers the pink drink and not needing to give permission or anything for the children to, like, do that, and I guess it's been told that it's some type of, like, fluoride mouth rinse or whatever, but I distinctly remember having to swallow it, and it was, like, the worst tasting, like, chalky, almost like the texture and feeling of, like, a like a Pepto-Bismol milk of magnesia type of consistency that would just like coat your throat, and it just was so freaking nasty. Um, but there's like a big I know that the conspiracy out there is the fact that it was like fluoride or whatever, which could be true, but I don't think it was just that. I think there was like way more than that because like all the children that were made to swallow it, like we remember that, but like a lot of the memory is gone and you feel it there. It's like niggling in the back of your brain, just like kind of like gnawing. And then again, it's just like one thing you can remember and it opens a floodgate of, and that's exactly what happened to me. And it's like I said at the very beginning, like a really big relief. Getting some memories back and being able to remember some things. Now the things that I'm remembering, are they great? No, but at least I know what happened, for the most part. Um, there's other aspects of it, like the whole dream state that you would because what they use is like a binaural beats, I think it's what it's called. And it's almost like ear flossing. That's what I call it. Like you can hear like different tones and sounds coming in each ear. And sometimes it'll make your body kind of like buzz and feel a certain way. And then the next thing you know, you're kind of like drifting off into this place that's like in between being awake and being asleep. Now I remember feeling this as a child. And there have been a few times where I guess one would call it like a type of like out of body experience. I've had that happen like as an adult, but I do remember, like, these reoccurring dreams that I have had, and one of them, I would be going to this place. It almost reminds me of, the movie The Cat in the Hat. And in this dream, like, you would be walking down this neighborhood and all the houses were like weirdly and oddly shaped. But the thing that made this place unique is that each house was one solid, it was like a monochromatic thing, right? It was all one solid color. So you would have a house that was purple with all different shades of purple. You would have one that was pink with all shades of pink, blues, etc. And that includes the lawn, the landscaping, whatever. Everything was like one particular color on that one house, and the next house would be a different color, but it would all just, be uniform. And so it was like almost a cascade of like rainbow kind of going down the street when you're looking at these houses, but they were like very not cheap, but you could tell that they weren't real. I don't know how else to explain it. It was almost like a feeling of like being in the game Candyland or something like I don't know how else to describe it, but I was very aware and awake every time I went to that place inside my dream. I knew what was going on and I was always like I was able to like run and jump and then kind of like fly and glide through the air. That was like something I remember doing, trying to just traverse through this neighborhood. And it was crazy. And I do remember that there was absolutely no other like living beings or anything in this area. You could sense a presence that you weren't alone, but you couldn't physically like see other people or anything like that. And then this other reoccurring dream that I would always have, and I actually had this one for I think up well into like my teens and stuff. Um, but this one was like a little bit more scary and terrifying. It was a really dead old forest, kind of like what you would see in cartoons or something like that, where the trees are kind of like solid black and you could see like the branches sticking out and stuff. But there was like no leaves or anything on it. Like the whole entire forest was dead, but it was dense and it was kind of like cartoonish like that. But I was always being chased by like this werewolf type entity. And I would always feel it like breathing down my neck, and it would always cause so much terror and fear in me. And right before it would like reach out to grab me, I would always like wake up and come out of the dream. And sometimes I would wake myself up by like screaming out in terror, like just crying in my sleep, waking myself up crying, waking myself up screaming. And it was always this same dream until um there was one time, gosh, I'm trying to remember how old I was, but I know for sure I was at least about 16 years old. And it was chasing me, the same thing over and over in the dream. But this particular time, instead of being terrified and scared, I got really, really angry. And I turned around and looked at this werewolf type being. And I was like, I'm not being scared of you anymore. And then it disappeared out of the dream instead of me. And I woke up normally. And that was the last time I ever had that reoccurring dream. I hadn't thought about it in years, but, when I faced it in my dream, yeah, it broke it, and I never had that reoccurring dream again. I don't know what broke me from having the one with the houses that were all, like, monochromatic and everything. Maybe it's I honestly don't know why I never had that one again. It wasn't like a terrifying dream or anything. I guess I just kind of stopped going there. Maybe I grew out of it or, something like that. Um Another thing that these children all had in common too is that Bloody Mary. And I did a story time about that, like, a couple weeks ago. I think it was maybe one of my first, like, story times that I shared, but, yeah, we got into I mean, personally, you guys know I did the whole Bloody Mary thing a couple of times, and I do remember, like, other children at school talking about Bloody Mary, and it's so funny because somebody left a comment on that video talking about, like, the green orb or the green aura or mist that would show up in the mirror when they were doing the Bloody Mary ritual, and that brought back, like, a whole 'nother slew of memories because I do remember that happening and other people talking about that happening. Um, so yeah, we've got, a lot of things in common, which is crazy, sometimes you have an experience and again, it goes back to you gaslight yourself, you think you're imagining it, but, like, I me asking my mom all of this before I was like, "Okay, I have to talk about this," there's gotta be other people out there, like it, and, um, for me, again, it's a relief, I like knowing what happened versus always being in the dark and not understanding, why I was, having the things happen to me that I did. Um, so yeah. I'm sure that there's more that I'm missing that, I have left out or whatever, different, things that happened, but, man, uh, sorry, I'm just, like, really kind of beside myself. I've been reeling over it, needing to, like, get this off my chest and talk about it for the past couple days, and, I know it seems like I shouldn't be, like, happy and excited or whatever about it, but you guys don't understand what it's like to have a whole chunk of your life, like, missing, and then all of a sudden you get, like, a portion of it back. For me, it's like I don't have any words. I just praise and glorify Abba because I had been praying for a long time for some type of, breakthrough other than the stuff, the traumatic stuff that, I remembered already. But there's, like, larger pieces, right, that were missing, and I'd been praying to know, about things that happened to me, and, there was this one particular time Abba gave me back, another memory, and at that moment in time, I wasn't ready to accept, the memory that was given to me, and I rejected it, and then I was, like, down on my knees and my face to the floor, telling Abba that he was right, he knew better than I did, and I wasn't ready, and, I was very humbled and quickly humbled in that situation, knowing that he will give things back to me, that I need to know when I need to know it, Now, the purpose of getting this memory back, I don't know, but I know and I trust that he knows what he's doing, and I trust him. And um, I'm just gonna let it go, and let Father orchestrate all of my memories, the next moves and everything that I make, because it's really all I have. Um, Man, I really hope you guys have enjoyed this somewhat. Part of part of my journey. I know, again, you guys, I'm always all over the place. And I'm sure during editing, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that. Maybe there'll be a part two. Maybe I'll remember some more. And I'll be back here to share like another story, part of that journey. And if not, you know what? That's okay. It's all on Abba's timing, and his timing is perfect. It's perfect. It's always good. He is faithful even when we are not. It's okay, you guys, to not gaslight yourself into thinking that something that you know for sure happened. It's okay to remember. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have experiences that other people have never had, and may even question if your experience is real, right? Because even believers do that. If they've never had an encounter with the supernatural in any way, shape, or form, or even if they have, some people are just, they still remain skeptical. But you know what? You don't have to be. And if you're not, and you've had things that have happened to you, it's okay. And it's okay to talk about it. And who cares what other people think about you? Who It doesn't matter. They can remain skeptical. You know what happened, and you know your truth, right? And that is what matters. Don't let anybody else ever gaslight you and change your reality, because it will, in the long run, end up making you more crazy than you already feel like you are. I'm speaking from experience, because there's so much in my life that I questioned, and it always turned out to be true because I had some type of confirmation, or somebody else remembers the same event. And I know it's not just me, and not just in my mind, even though I was always afraid to ask the question, but I'm at the point where I'm not afraid to ask anymore. Anyway, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts if you have any experiences like this, if you ever had to do any type of those puzzles or strange things, drink the pink drink, um, anything like that. I would love to hear about it. I would like to hear other believers. I'm not saying like I wouldn't hear it from people who are a non-believer, but we just I want to hear everybody's story. But I think Jesus and Father have like a lot to do with this and where we are now. And so um the perspective is that how many of us are now in the faith and believers that had this happen? I guess that is my question. And um even if you're not a believer, I would like to know, what your journey is and where you are on this road. And I pray that Father and Jesus reveal themselves to you through this process, because if you're allowed to remember, it means that they were there protecting you, and then you get to remember when it's the right time. Um anyway, I love you guys. Have a blessed day, and I will maybe share another different story next week. The one that I was originally planning for today. We'll see. I'll be willing, right? Have a blessed day.